on some of this cult stuff, so I can get some documents going and get like, offline content recorded here. Hopefully before the school year, you know? I hope. Start this up. This is just a work I said into cult stuff.
Back in its heyday,
this is just a video I came across.
Crossovers with a bunch of different fans and movies, but that's long since stopped. For reference, though, there's full worlds dedicated to David Bowie,
We're getting a bowl loaded,
Smith, and the Blair Witch Project. The basic gameplay is classic FPS tank controls, along with a chat box where you can do crazy stuff like chat. Now, under the surface, there is some strange stuff going on with this one. And that's before we get into any cult shenanigans. It's a pretty decently well-known thing that the owner of Worlds is a patent troll, which is pretty much the only thing keeping the game running. Just a quick search of Worlds Inc. patent, and you'll get results showing that they've been in court with Bungie, Blizzard, and as recently as 2020, they were suing fucking Microsoft over Minecraft. Now, if you don't know what any of this means, they've held patents since 2001 for very basic and general concepts in gaming, such as interacting with others in a 3D online space, which obviously applies to like literally every multiplayer game ever made. Now, because they hold these patents, Worlds has the legal right to ask for royalties for using their ideas. And from what I've seen, they still hold these patents to this day. The launcher itself for the game even displays the patent numbers, which I've never seen in any other game. From what I've researched though, the owner of Worlds still has to prove that the patents are being put to use, so the game has to continue running and it needs to have active players in order for them to keep these patents, which is why it's still up today. Anyways, with that rundown of the game and how it's even still running out of the way, let's dive right into the deeper, darker, spookier cult stuff. Since the early 2010s, and maybe even a bit before, there have been rumors running wild about an old abandoned chat room game called Worlds. Forum posts detailing strange users, abandoned worlds, and other occurrences in the game. People in these threads would often document their findings, usually being worlds that were untouched for a decade or more. Every now and then there would even be an article or two detailing how weird the game was, usually saying something along the lines of, check out this creepy...
Yes, correct. I'm ready to go.
With this newfound attention, many rumors began to spread about the game. The bulk of these rumors centered around one player in particular, a user named Nexialist. There were posts and videos made about him in various places, from the bigger sites like Reddit and 4chan, to smaller, now defunct forums. These usually recounted how he would get people to follow him around, and would then show them strange, satanic imagery. Other posts talked about how he would summon images that sounded like distorted, screeching animals. This post here from over 10 years ago has numerous links to different files they were sent, which are sadly all broken at this point. Another common story when encountering Nexialist would be that he would simply stalk you,
cheers,
around you and observing you wherever you went. There was nowhere you could hide. And of course, all these posts almost always mentioned his creepy outfit and overall demeanor. The people going on to sites like 4chan posting about him only led to more people hopping on to try to find him themselves, which meant that he had a constant stream of people to mess with. These world threads were commenting on, there was even speculation on sites like 4chan that these posts were Nexialist trying to lure people into playing the game. Some even speculated that Nexialist was the owner of Worlds himself, trying to keep the game alive with a weird marketing stunt like this, but I don't think there's any real evidence proving that. What can be said for certain though, is that Nexialist was a weird dude. Aside from Nexialist, there were other strange cultish things on Worlds as well. The other main thing of note is a mugshot room by a user named Jimbly. The world is full of stolen pictures of various people and nothing much else, leading to plenty of speculation regarding its purpose. There's been talks of blackmail, stalking, and unsolicited naughty images being posted. And it's at this point that I genuinely can't, with a straight face, keep up the storytelling here about how any of this nefarious cult stuff is real in any way. And we're just going to tear it all down real quick. Starting with the mugshot, since that's probably obvious to most people, but that's genuinely just a world where users could send in pictures of themselves for others to see. You've got to keep in mind that this was in an era before modern social media, so emailing the owner of a picture of yourself was the only way people could ever see one another. It's an innocent world that is speculated to be something real greasy. It's not even unique either. While
don't buy anything for 3 rounds? Okay.
Back in its heyday, Worlds had plenty of servers just like this.
Don't give me good shit.
It's not even unique to Worlds, as I've seen this in other virtual hangout games just like it. But what about Nexialist? The spooky dooky chat room cult leader. He's just some guy. Yep. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna be in depth.
You see, it was all a troll. a ruse, a goof, and you all fell for it. All it took was years of regularly messing with people and being absolutely committed to the bit. There's genuinely dozens of...
Any luck of finding a good seed for us to do a shared seed on? Because I might send it to Bump too. See if she wants to play it with us. Yeah, well, that's one of those days. Monday.
Various forums from people who know him and say that it's all just a troll and that he's actually a pretty chill guy. A lot of them are prominent members of the world's community as well, so it's not just random people. Also, I would have liked to show off some of those old forums and 4chan threads, which were speculated.
That'd be interesting.
Nexialist himself, but they are long gone.
Just be responsible about it.
Take the word of some repost blogs that they existed.
Okay, no worries. I mean,
Nexialist nowadays.
I do want to play the game, but I'm also not in a rush to for a seed, so don't feel any major pressure, by the way.
And it combs over and disproves pretty much all rumors surrounding the game. Cult or not.
I want you to stay rolling seeds for like 2 hours trying to
satanic worlds combined with the speculation.
Don't lose your sanity over it, you know?
Combined to make a pretty compelling case from the outside looking in. But
okay, I'll take that.
I've seen say that he's just a regular guy, and even that he's grown out of the trolling nowadays, this one is simply done for. On top of all
that
of
too.
Well,
I spent my whole off stream day playing Sims and hanging out with people, but like playing Sims.
The world is seemingly abandoned. The game itself is actually actively played by a decent number of regulars.
I could always use something to pull away, but I'm also not.
If there was an actual cult being this blatant, they'd simply be banned. Worlds even keeps chat logs of all the
time. Oh, I got a bowl right here. Perfect.
So anything illegal or bad in the chat has a permanent log that the admins can check, whether it's cult related or not. I tried logging in over a number of days at different hours just to see if I could spot.
By all means, if you're willing to spend some time looking for seeds, If you're willing to spend time looking for, by all means, I'm not gonna. I will be pretty ecstatic when we find one. At the same time, I don't want you to like this, executive dysfunction. Also, I hope you're doing well, Coral. Are you excited for Swifty time tomorrow?
So, I'm not sure if you
Swifty Tuesday, Taylor Tuesday.
Well, this whole thing is a fun concept, a strange, creepy cult operating within a long-forgotten 90s game. Sadly, this one just isn't real.
Watch Swifty shit and set up my new furniture piece. Let me see if I can share a chat.
After all this research into Nexialist, I was heavily reminded of a similar thing that happened in 2016 to the stream of Vinesauce. While he was exploring a similar game called Active Worlds. Due to being a similarly old and clunky game, his audience unknowingly crashed the signups for it with the amount of traffic going to the site, meaning that the game was only populated by those that already had accounts. So, basically nobody.
That's something similar to this. I got like a 5-foot version of this. I would. Geo activity wouldn't be terrible. Just not metal lacking or metal poor. I like a little geysers aren't bad. Geodes aren't terrible. They're kind of like shitty to get work up against sometimes. You can get some shitty rolls, but I'm not like I guess maybe like a cool geyser would be cool. It would be nice.
After exploring
some kind of like gas
for a bit
at some point, but I'm also not
named Hitomi Fujiko, who was
not super.
Are you lost?
Mostly so I can learn how to use geysers and stuff like that more.
Quickly shown that this was indeed a real person.
So geo activity wouldn't.
Very strange. They were speaking in weird ways, asking if they themselves were real, and a whole bunch of other strange stuff. Things ended with Hitomi wishing him farewell by name and fading away. Following this was a ton of speculation on who this was, with a lot of people being really freaked out or at the least curious.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. I couldn't exactly remember, and I didn't want to be wrong on it, but.
Posts were made by Hitomi shortly after this, saying that they already had an account and were familiar with the game,
they were
the only person able to log in at the time. Overall, what I'm getting at here is that instances of these strange, ominous, creepy peepee players in games like this are just people playing characters, and rarely, if ever, an actually scary person. With that said, I hope people keep doing this kind of stuff because it's really cool and also pretty much entirely harmless. Like, who cares? Wrapping back to and wrapping up Worlds, while the game is definitely strange, pretty much none of the rumors surrounding things going on in-game have any legitimacy. This is the
Can't
game
buy anything next.
with the fucking Googie room in it. Do you really think a cult is in this game? With all of that said, this one was just the beginning of my research. And if all of that was fake, I was already starting to wonder if any of these would be real.
Great quest. Worlds was...
For this one, we're going to talk about something a little bit different here, as this one is a single-player RPG maker game. I wanted some like this as well.
This is the strange one to
There's
me.
many rumors of cult-made games, as there are cults in online games. So you get these too. Think of it as a bonus. The game itself we're looking at here is Kanye Quest 3030. It's a really short, little 2-hour-ish long game from 2013. And for the purposes of this video, the game itself really doesn't actually matter all that much. I'll still give a brief rundown here for anyone unfamiliar. The game has Kanye West fall through a portal in the year 2010 while taking out the trash, ending up with him in a dystopian year 3030 America. From there, you team up with and face off against various famous rappers, musicians, and hip-hop artists from over the years. Again, the actual game part isn't really the main focus of this one. You see, the game held a dark secret within. A mysterious cult, buried in game with hidden codes, puzzles, and passwords that took years to emerge. But for that story, we'll have to rewind. In the way back year of 2015, an anonymous pastebin post was posted, definitely totally not by the creator of the game, which detailed their eerie, spooky replay of the RPG, where they discovered a dark secret. The post opens up with the author saying that they haven't played Kanye Quest in over 2 years, and when they did, it wasn't for more than 5 minutes. They go on to say that they decided to give it an honest try this time around, and would beat the game this time. Early on in the game, they noticed a little bit of fluff text, which most players have likely seen, which, when filling in the blank, is ascend and worship the based god. But they really thought nothing of it. After a bit more of normal play, further into the game there's an NPC who asks you what you want to do. Now, normally here, any answer you gave is met with the exact same response, but the author tried to type ascend just to see what happens, and something scary and demented ended up happening, instead of the normal response, with them being transported to a brand new area. This new location immediately tells them to keep it a secret, and that the entire game is a front for what they're about to see. What they were experiencing now was the real Kanye Quest. It then gave a message reading, quote, "Congratulations,
ARG
you've
stuff.
proven yourself to be an open-minded and curious thinker. We must apologize for deceiving you, but we can reveal that the game you were playing until this point was a front, constructed to protect what you are currently accessing. We must ask that you do not reveal this area to the public. If you believe that you may be prone to revealing information or do not wish to participate, please close this program immediately by pressing Alt F4 or selecting the No option when it appears. By selecting the Yes option, you agree to participate and not reveal information." And then if you select Yes, the dialogue continues. "The following is a thought experiment designed to help teach you something beneficial. By undertaking this exercise, you will hopefully be affected in a positive way. Due to the nature of the exercise, this something cannot be revealed immediately. This exercise may or may not be restricted to this software. It is important to remember that the purpose of the exercise is to benefit you. You will not be timed. We cannot provide any more information, except that we wish you good luck. You may begin now.
Little eerie.
To your ascension." And then for the next little bit, they are faced with a puzzle and do some typical ARG cracking stuff, and then get another yes-no prompt upon completion. This one congratulates them for their ascension, but also says that further ascension is still possible. If they select yes, they would like to ascend further, they get
interesting.
Over the following 2-week time period, we will interact with you and your possessions in several ways. Keep an eye out, as some of these may be subtle, others may not be. We may attempt to contact you directly. If we do this, we will attempt to notify you of our presence using a keyword. If you still consent to participation, please select the Yes option. Do you wish to participate? If you select Yes again, the player is met with the following screen, where the game asks for all kinds of info. Your address, name, postal code, basically everything you need to find somebody. The author still entered all the relevant info and submitted it, with the game saying to enjoy the next 2 weeks and to await instruction. After this part, the pastebin goes on about a bunch of potential leads and ARG stuff that we'll talk about later. And by the way, all of this is completely replicable by anyone playing the game themselves.
Personally,
you could download the game right now and do all of this. We are now going to pivot to talk a bit more about the in-game cult, Ascension.
I've heard about at least Kanye Quest
itself, and since
being a weird game, like having weird ARG stuff to it.
A new age religion that dates back to at least 2006 based on the first Wikipedia edits. The pastebin states that it revolves around the body having a physical spirit, the body, and an ethereal spirit, the soul. While the body dies, the soul continues to live on through many lifetimes and is then judged by itself. If they're good enough, they nuke themselves and become super duper souls that new souls then form from. The pastebin states that Orthodox Ascensionism believes souls form pacts with other souls they'll encounter in that lifetime, meaning that any harm done to a person was agreed upon by their soul and the other person's. This justifies any harm they perpetrate against people. It then talks about how if a person is cloned, their soul can't die until the clones are all dead. And if it can't die, the soul will get more wicked and evil because it gets corrupted by bad circumstances. And it can't be purged by death to start anew. Confusing. I know.
Yeah, okay, I'm glad.
This relates it to the game.
Okay, I'm really glad. I was like lost and I was like, huh? That wasn't the only one? Okay. Sorry.
Where the evil characters are clones of rappers that have accumulated evil over a long period of time, while the good characters are clones that have been dormant for so long.
Because there's only one.
Bad energies through
there's one person in the category that I'm in.
And with that, all the pieces are falling into place, as this marks a direct.
The bots are just getting out of hand. Let me tell you. I don't.
So, anyways,
I'm not even gonna get into the bots.
None of this is real. Obviously.
That's a whole like conspiracy hole that we don't need to get into.
Not only is this an art project, it's a high school project. This wasn't actually known for many years and was a pretty big internet mystery for a good while, with plenty of massive channels trying to find the mysterious creator behind Kanye Quest. Some people even thought that there was a chance that this was a real thing, since there was no creator to ask about it. This changed in 2022 when the channel Gross House, which I think is how you say that, dropped a 6-part globe-trotting adventure documentary called Finding Yeezus, in which they pursue pretty much every lead that the game has ever had, and eventually do uncover the creator, the previously mentioned Clara Hope, and they interview her. I'd highly recommend checking this series out if you want more info on Kanye Quest's origins, as it has a criminally low view count, especially compared to videos talking about Kanye Quest as this like totally real, crazy brainwashing game. Like, you gotta check these out after this video is done. One of the points I found pretty interesting from the interview was that Clara completely made up the game's rendition of Ascensionism. It doesn't mean anything or refer to any real-world cult, and she purely chose it because she noticed a bunch of New Age spiritual and cult stuff all going by the name Ascensionism, and to be as confusing as possible, named her ARG that as well. She then says that it seemed like that paid off, as it caused a ton of chaos and confusion. That's all I want to mention from it here though, as at the very least, their last episode is worth a view for the interview. And I don't want to just steal it and regurgitate everything here, as they clearly put a ton of work in for the series. Check it out after this. One nail in the coffin for this being completely fake before any of this was revealed though, is that you don't even have to be connected to the internet for that info form to say it was sent. You know, the one with the address and the name is You don't need to be connected to anything. Not only that, but opening up the game inside RPG Maker reveals that the screen which says it's sending the info is literally just a 3-second timer that says complete at the end. It doesn't save anything or send it anywhere. It's all baloney. One guy on reddit.com in 2019 even noticed that the pastebin that totally wasn't posted by the creator of the game purposefully edited out that the game doesn't send anything anywhere, and left a very thought-out response on why the whole thing is fake, which was met with an equally thought-out response. Shut up. For this one, we're going to pivot to a game that was actually made by a cult developer, with this one being the incredibly infamous and dangerous Om Shinrikyo cult, which in English roughly translates to Supreme Truth. We'll start by looking at the cult itself, and if you've never heard of them before, then trust me when I say this, these were not good people. Like, everything
we've heard about these
somehow continually gets worse. So let's start with some background. Founded in 1987 in Tokyo by a man named Shoko Asahara, this bearded fella here. This cult was originally just a yoga and meditation kind of thing. Real small time and would have likely
turned into this like
in a few years. However, it
big military force,
combining aspects of a bunch of different ones, with Asahara declaring himself as Christ. This quickly gained traction, and with some pretty powerful and rich people too. I've read that this was known as the religion for the elite. After only 2 years of operation, they had officially been classed as a religious organization by the Japanese government. They had amassed thousands of followers. They were even writing books and doing public speaking at prestigious universities. Really, in short here, they had made it big in a very small amount of time. In just a few short years,
pretty sure they militarized
organization with multiple compounds, millions of dollars, and thousands of extremely devoted followers. You can probably see how this very quickly became...
Yep, here it is. Here it is.
About as quickly as they rose, they began to fall. As in the coming years, mostly during the early 90s, Ohm did a ton, and I mean a ton, of awful, heinous, irredeemable, no good, very, very bad actions. To give you an idea of how bad things were here, like 2/3 of Ohm's Wikipedia article is just crimes they committed. All of this culminated with police finally catching on in the mid-90s after years of them getting away with it. The police finally putting things together planned a mass raid on Ohm facilities across the country. Unfortunately, Shoko Asahara was tipped off regarding this and decided that they would need a little distraction. This little distraction he had planned was to let loose a bunch of incredibly dangerous chemicals in the Tokyo subway, which resulted in over a dozen deaths and injured over 1,000
Yeah,
others.
it
This
was
distraction didn't even
awful.
do anything for them, as Ohm was still raided and over 100 members were arrested, including Asahara. Despite all of this, from what I can tell, Ohm's rebrand and multiple splinter groups still exist to this day. So after all of that, a recruitment game for the cult was released called The
we
Story
need to bet
of
on.
Kamakuashiki Village, which has you playing as Shoko Asahara himself. You've got to manage the day-to-day of the cult, raising funds,
I know this
managing
is a thing.
members, and generally keep the whole thing running. You can make some serious coin in this game by selling your cult leader bathwater or your blood for people to drink. As for the artwork, everything is really crudely drawn, as you can probably see, and it looks like it's right out of a Pilot Red Sun animation. The stuff that isn't hand-drawn is mostly actual, highly compressed live-action news footage, as well as actual propaganda videos made by the cult. As well as this, there's also multiple black and white photos of real-world cult members used in the game. All this footage and stuff
Interesting.
ballooned the game's file size, as it needs like 12 floppy disks to install. Progression in the game is time-based, and things move forward with every action you take. There's multiple events that happen no matter what on certain dates, which happen in real life on said dates, such as murders and other things of a similarly violent nature. After enough time passes, the game has two endings. In the first one, the good ending, the 1995 subway incident occurs, and in the other, Doomsday occurs. I
No
forgot to
shot.
mention,
That's
also,
crazy.
They were also a Doomsday cult that predicted nuclear war. Now, obviously, just from the looks of things here,
It's
this
like
game
best
is
case scenario
absolutely
that
absurd.
that way
Really,
incident
it's
happens.
only noteworthy because of the obvious
That's
cult
why.
association. And here is where I stop lying to you. Rug pull, big reveal. This game is actually entirely satirical. Yeah, for years this has been reported on as a real recruitment propaganda tool made by the cult, which is somewhat fair as there's a language barrier, obviously, for English players, as well as a cultural barrier. It's obvious how there was a mix-up, as purely looking at the visuals, it does look like some weird creepy cult game, especially with all the actual cult imagery used, but it's simply not. This game is like if they made Heaven's Gate space program and people passed it off as real. The big turning point in discussion around this game was seemingly around when Vice dropped an article in which they translated it and pretty much debunked the entire thing. Despite the amount of time that passed, they even got in touch with a friend of the developers for a little interview, and this friend happened to be the developer of the similarly infamous Hong Kong 97, but that's unrelated. Now, despite this article, there is still...
Oh, 'cause it
something
freezes
passing
even.
off as like a real crazy cult game somehow. I don't know how. It's everywhere now.
That's actually
The game itself was made by two high schoolers, that's
Okay.
2 in a row now, and basically it's a mid-90s elaborate shitpost, which is purely mocking the cult and in absolutely no way glorifying it or trying to make it look good. It was sold primarily in underground magazines and basically says the same thing I just did, that it's not associated with the cult and that they hate them. If you wanted a copy, this would have run you 14,500 yen, which today is around 100 big ones when converted to American and adjusted
Really?
for inflation. That's all I really have to say on this one, though. If you want more specific info on stuff, I would recommend just giving the Vice article a read. It's pretty interesting. The game itself is on archive.org, but good luck playing it if you don't speak Japanese. Now, you might have noticed way back at the beginning of the segment, I played a couple anime clips that were centered around them, and you're probably thinking, you know, those are also fake or satire. No. Actually. Nope. Yeah, that's real. Now, despite all of the revelations coming out years ago, I thought at the very least this one was legit. And it wasn't until researching for this video that I found out any of this was satirical. And I'm sure that same thing goes for many others as well. But with 3 of the ones I knew of turning out to be fake or satire, I decided I was going to dig deeper to see if I could find some real ones. Let me tell you now, they absolutely exist. For these next two, we are going to look at 2 definitive, actual, non-speculative, 100% cult-associated developers in the games that they've made. There's no more rug pulls. Or
Okay.
I
I'm
promise.
done.
So what we're looking at now
All right.
is the first actual example of a cult-developed game in the
Do we believe it,
In the next
Chad?
little bit, we are going to be discussing the game
I don't know
studio
if I do.
Divine Gaming Incorporated. It's a relatively new studio that formed around 2020, which hasn't yet developed any games, but rather a very large, game-sized Minecraft overhaul mod. Let's get into it. The founder of the studio, Jeff Divine, is also the co-founder of Twin Flames Universe, an active cult. Before we dive into the studio,
Wait.
let's go over said cult. Right off
Wait. I think I
the bat,
know
I'll
about
say
this.
I'm not an expert on this.
Why does
one.
his name
I've
sound
heard that it's in the
familiar?
research for this, so I'm not particularly well versed in their antics. So don't take everything I say here as 100% fact. One of the first things to mention that's a pretty good indicator of how bad things are with this one, though, is that there is not one, but 2 different documentaries on them. One on Amazon Prime and one on Netflix. These are
Yeah, he's a soft speaker. I don't know how to describe. He just
named Desperately Seeking Soulmate, Escaping Twin Flames Universe, and Escaping Twin Flames. respectively.
Oh!
The cult itself
Yo, someone told me about this. This is who told me about this? Was it you, Nikki? Was it you that sent me the fucking TikTok about it or some shit? And I was like, oh man, I need to watch the Amazon Prime one. I haven't yet. Fuck. Okay, we're gonna watch this. I need to watch tomorrow. I'm throwing that in between Taylor time and Star Wars. I'm watching that up.
itself is all about finding your twin flame, so basically your soulmate, with the cult serving as guidance, mostly through selling extremely expensive courses on how to do so. The owners are Jeff and Shayla Divine.
I was like, he said Jeff Divine and then Twin Flames, whatever for their company. I was like, oh, I know this. I know this sounds so familiar.
The 2 will assign members a twin flame, who the member is encouraged to pursue heavily. Right around here is where I go over the day-to-day of the cult, but you gotta remember, we're in modern times now. It's just all online. Their day-to-day is just making YouTube videos and selling courses. Into the thick of it, here's some of the allegations against them. Most of these are from the 2 documentaries, and some are from articles written about them. Allegedly, they forced or heavily encouraged members to undergo gender transitions, be it through full surgery or socially transitioned. Members have to switch their assigned, not chosen, divine gender, being either divine masculine or divine feminine. The group believes that you can only pair a divine feminine and a divine masculine, and since the majority of members are women, their balance was off.
Okay, was not prepared for that.
Assigning more divine masculines. Multiple people went as far as getting top surgery under their guidance. Allegedly, they encourage stalking exes and harassment in general. If someone was said to be your twin flame and they rejected you, you simply weren't trying hard enough. Frequently, this included violating restraining orders. Allegedly, they charge ludicrous amounts of money for their sessions, hundreds to many thousands of dollars. Their everything package costs $8,888, allegedly. And then there's also more general cult stuff like isolation, controlled lifestyles regarding relationships, diet and exercise, being untrusting of outsiders, spiritual healing sessions, complete devotion and worship of the leaders, and other things of the sort that are typically seen in cults. And many other things are in those documentaries that would take much longer to explain. A lot of individual stories that are just really sad and frequently involve cutting off.
What's the name of this one? Twin Flames? Okay. I don't. Going in there now.
Family and friends. We can stop there though and just say that it's pretty clear overall.
I think
They
someone
are
else.
Greasy. Allegedly. Even Wikipedia is
I think-
afraid to call them
I think Bump and I will watch some of that. We can talk about.
cult. A similar thing I saw, not associated with TFU to my knowledge, was that this kind of twin flame soulmate stalking stuff happened to literally me in 2014, resulting in a restraining order when the individual in question flew across the country and showed up to literally my house in Hollywood. We'll start things off by taking a really quick peek at their website before we get into the mod itself. Their homepage is just a full page ad for the mod, but from here we can go to their team page where it is confirmed beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is founded by the same Jeff Devine as Twin Flames Universe. Also from this, I learned that their CEO is also one of TFU's certified ascension coaches, whatever that means. So, this whole thing runs deep. Now, originally, this video was supposed to simply be a compilation of a bunch of cults and games to see if they were legit. But since this one, as of now, has had such little coverage online, I figure I'll do a little field research. Let's see what we can dig up. Starting on the actual mod page, this is apparently a $500,000 project. Initially, I was confused by this because they don't elaborate on it here at all, but checking their Patreon, I learned that the initial investment was $250,000, and they have an upkeep of $20,000 a month. They have 4 paying patrons, by the way, so the return on investment here is not looking good. The other noteworthy thing with this mod is that it's not complete, but rather has its first chapter out. There was an update as recently as January 2024 saying that they're still working on the mod though, so it's not dead. Yet. I'm fairly certain that this one does have multiplayer, meaning it's online, but I'm not paying any money to their Patreon in order to get access to their weird cult Discord in order to join it.
For real?
Without further ado, let's get into things proper. You start off the mod in an apartment overlooking this giant city. We're in adventure mode or something, so I can't...
Bang your music.
The only real thing
Definitely a jam.
is to talk to this NPC to start the mod. Now, from this guy, I noticed they had feet to NPCs. It's got to be where